We'll open up this meeting of the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal informal session for June 4th of 2020. And Christian, can you lead us in the flag salute? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Christian. Yeah. Move on to public comment. And due to COVID-19 and social distancing requirements, we encourage anyone wishing to submit general public comment or comments on agenda items to do so in written format via email at boc.info@co.yamhill.or.us or by mail at 535 Northeast 5th Street, McMinnville, Oregon 97128. Any comments received prior to the meeting will be shared with the Board of Commissioners and submitted to the record. And right now we have one public comment from Diane Braddock, and it's with regard to applying for phase 2 for reopening. And Diana, if you're listening, I'm happy to let you know that we did yesterday. So nothing like being able to, it's applied. Yeah, nothing like being able to say, all right, check.
Yes.
So, but thank you for submitting public comment. I appreciate it. We do. We move on to consent agenda, which is item D, and we have none today. We move on to item E, which is old business, and we have none today. Move on to item F, which is other business. And under F1, we have consideration of amendment number 11 to the agreement between Yamhill County Health and Human Services and the Lutheran Community Services Northwest, which is Board Order 12-555 for outpatient counseling and treatment services covered by the Oregon Health Plan in the amount of $24,014.66. This is effective May 1st of 2020 through June 30th of 2020. Just a short time period. And Commissioner, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Just this has a little bit of a qualifier here, and that's because the funding is for increased staff for the behavioral health services through the school mental health programs, but it's tied to the YCCO Students Success Act initiatives. So if that money is not forthcoming, we're going to have to rethink how we approach this. But at this point, Lutheran as well as HHS staff is continuing to work with students virtually and with their families and teachers, and will continue to do so. But again, if those dollars are not there, we're going to have to rework our contract with the CCO and with Lutheran.
Great.
So fingers crossed on this one.
Yeah.
And so, Mary, this contract only takes us through the end of this fiscal year through June 30th, and then is there another amendment that will be getting in July? Because this is for only basically another.
It's for 21 days.
21 days. Well, we're hoping to have an idea of what's forthcoming as far as those student success dollars are.
Yeah.
If we don't, I mean, we'll just extend this, but.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that background.
And thank you to our HHS director for the clarification on that.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve Amendment 11 to the agreement between Yamhill County Health and Human Services and Lutheran Community Services Northwest, which is our Board Order 12-555 in the amount of $24,014.66, effective May 1st through the end of June this year.
Great. Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Record show unanimous approval of item F1. Item F2 is consideration to authorize Community Justice and the Sheriff's Office to submit a grant application for the Bureau of Justice Assistance, which is the BJA, for the fiscal year 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding, or the CESF program, for financial support to local governments for program and service expansion in response to COVID-19. And I'd ask Ken and also Commissioner Olson, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Actually, and Commissioner State, this covers all of you.
This is just an option that, because of COVID-19, another option allow us to recover some of our costs from the funding. So
it's a little different because this is a grant application,
right?
And it's also for, as they put in there, it's also for preparation and future response.
Yeah.
Should this continue? So again, it's a grant proposal, and This really started in Department of Community Justice. Jessica was made aware of this. We brought it to Carrie and brought the sheriff in, and then there was further discussion on possible ideas or solutions that help with some improvements in the facility and improvements, some needed things. If we have to divert, that's why you'll see electronic monitoring and some other things. So if it continues to wear concerns about increasing the population of the jail, some alternatives to incarceration, and some other means to bring forward. So it's kind of interesting on how this plays, and then also with CARES Act and other funding sources that are out there at this point. This is just permission to apply for the funds, and then we can figure out where to go.
My only question, I emailed the sheriff, but I didn't get back. Is this, on this grant request, is it for a fixed amount or a percentage amount, or basically whatever they give you?
Well, you'll see that there were estimates and a list as part of the application. There was a number of projects that, so they basically looked at trying to project out what might be future needs, expenses, and projects, and then that's what we included in the. It's not necessarily a percentage or anything. It's just that, well, we think we may have these areas of expense, or we have these 3 or 4 projects that we want to address, and then put a dollar figure, an estimate to that, and that's what we're applying for.
Right, like the thermal imaging. They're like, okay, we're going to need to be screening people. Here's the most effective, so here's the price for that.
Correct.
Yeah, and maybe they don't. Maybe the Bureau of Justice says no to that one, but other things maybe yes. Yeah.
Ask for what you want and get what you can get.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Any other thoughts, commissioners? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve then.
I would move approval of item F2, consideration to authorize Community Justice and the Sheriff's Office to submit a grant application for the Bureau of Justice Assistance FY 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Let the record show unanimous approval of item F2. Item F3 is consideration of approval to declare 6 wooden bookshelves as surplus county property to be donated to McMinnville Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, I guess my only question on that is I have no problem declaring it surplus, but I guess for Ken and I think as a commissioner, do we have any of our that would allow up to a certain amount of the value of the donation to just allow the county administrator to authorize it? Because 6 wooden bookcases aren't worth very much money, and to have us have to vote every time we have that kind of surplus. So
what's a little unique about this one, because typically when we have surplus, when we get ready to surplus items, any surplus furniture or facilities related items would all go to the facilities, and then Joe Moore would be coming forward with a much larger, I need to surplus these 3 pages worth of items to either sell, provide, give to nonprofits or dispose of. This is a little unique because one part, what we call the boneyard, Joe doesn't have a lot of space in there for additional furniture. The DA's office took the additional step on their own and reached out to that Habitat and said, hey, we've got these, are you interested? And so that's why it's a little unique, but typically you're right. We wouldn't necessarily bring like 3 bookshelves like this before you, but the surplus policy does say that it does require board action to declare items as surplus before we can dispose of or sell or donate. So this is, I think, an exception to how we've typically done it, and it's because the department recognized, when Joe's like, I don't know where I'm going to put these things. And, well, we have somebody who's interested in it. And
Let's see if we can do
you
this.
certainly don't want to go over to the boneyard. You'll have a desk from 9 feet up to fall on the air.
But
Hopefully
there's
the
so
fire
much
never starts
history
now.
in that space.
Yeah, but hopefully the fire never starts in that building.
Hey, I went shopping there when I first became a commissioner,
too.
and I found some lovely items, and they are in my office, and you can find some great stuff over at the Boneyard.
Oh
Everything
yeah.
I have except the desk that was in my office. Every chairs, everything I have came from the boneyard.
Right, I'll take one of those. I'll take those. I'll take that.
I wanted the ceiling on the inside, but they wouldn't give that to me. Yeah. Okay, well, I would entertain a motion that we approve that then. Thank you.
Also move that we approve and declare 6 wooden desks surplus to be donated to McMinnville Habitat for Humanity.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The record show unanimous approval of item F3. Item F4 is consideration of 30-day extension to the current COVID-19 temporary commuting policy. Policy will expire upon termination of the state of emergency declared by the Governor of Oregon or July 4th of 2020, whichever occurs first, unless extended by the Board of Commissioners. And Ken, it's back before us, so.
Yeah, it's just, the expiration date was coming up this week, so I wanted to make sure, I got this before we go ahead and extend. I think even though, we have an application to go into phase 2, we're currently in phase 1. Teleworking is still strongly encouraged, and we're going to continue just to have departments utilizing a lot of telework. Even if we go into phase 2, there may be some phased reopening of some buildings, but again, we want to phase that and try to accommodate telework requests.
And right now, unfortunately, I think this is the right way to do it, because I think unfortunately right now, when it says when the declaration is over, I don't expect that to come until there's a vaccine in the room. So we can extend this another 3 or 4 times, but we think we're going.
How is that going as far as
That's what I wanted to
teleworking?
know.
Are we seeing that there's productivity issues, or that employees are able to manage it?
It seems, I'm hearing, I think, for the most part, I'd say overall, it's working well. I think it can vary from program to program, because just, depending on the time of year right now, I think it works well for some programs, just because it's a certain time of year where maybe there's not a lot of walk-in traffic.
Sure.
I do think, where, we're still working out the where you need to interface with clients or conduct group meetings, or, in HHS or some of the other offices that the department and the supervisors are constantly assessing and looking at ways to improve it or how we can do it. And so trying to come at it with a balanced approach, that's why you'll see a lot of HHS programs are doing it on an intermittent basis. So, trying to find a balance between the two.
Yeah.
So for some departments or some positions or some duties, telework, it's not really an option. It's not something you can do. But for the most part, I think departments and supervisors and employees have been working well and working together and trying to find solutions to make it work and getting accustomed to it. And especially as this teleworking being something like a lot of other employers across the country, where telework is not something that we had a lot of experience with.
Yeah.
There's bumps in the road. We're working through this.
Yeah. Well, I've received no comments of late, emails from staff members, and whereas, we all, I think, got a flood of inquiries and concerns initially. So I'm glad that we have it in place. And I'm also glad that we are coming to a point where it'll be easier to justify, being, for example, in group meetings. So, yeah. And thank you for continuing to extend this and for working on it. Commissioners, any other thoughts on it?
No, Mr. Chair, I would move approval of item 5, consideration of extending the 30-day paid. Oh, wait. Sorry.
Yeah.
Jump the gun a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's right. We'll talk about that in a moment. I
Item
guess.
4, consideration of extending the COVID-19 temporary telecommuting policy.
All right. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Let the record show unanimous approval of item F4. And now we will get to item F5, which is consideration of 30-day extension effective June 16th of 2020 of the current COVID-19 paid administrative leave policy. Policy will expire upon termination of the state of emergency declared by the Governor of Oregon or July 16th of 2020, whichever occurs first, unless extended by the Board of Commissioners. And I think the question might, I was going to ask the question that you asked with the first one, which is, how is it working?
Well, we have this policy, admittedly, just I don't have data on the utilization of this right at this moment.
Yeah.
Because I think the expanded paid family medical leave is where we're seeing most employees are using that. This is one because we're still in a state of emergency, declared emergency. It's still there. We still want to have this available should, should an employee who meets the criteria need to access this. It seemed logical to go ahead and extend it as long as we have the emergency in place.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. You were about to say something, but I
No.
wanted to get in my related.
No, all I was gonna say is, this along with the item we just approved, I think this is very appropriate to extend it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I would move that we approve item F5. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Let the record show unanimous approval of item F5. Item F6 is consideration of approval to accept the resignation of Diane Edwards and appoint Ekaterina St. Oris to the investment committee for a 2-year term through January 24th of 2022.
I have a couple of comments about this, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. Ms. St. Ors is extremely qualified. She's got some great credentials. I am very happy to see that she has applied for this position. It leads me to look back at how we assign people or do applications for the advisory committee. And I was a little concerned about what happened last time. And that is that Paulette Alexandria never resigned. She was sent an email from Mike Green, our treasurer, because I wasn't aware of this. I made the assumption she resigned.
Mhm.
When we were told by our treasurer that she had decided to, I think he used the term, move on. So I assumed she resigned. Well, she didn't resign. Mike Green told her that her term was up and she was not going to be on the board anymore. And then asked Chris Bledsoe to apply, and she did, and the board approved that. No problem with that part of it. The part that I have a concern about is how that was finessed. When a well-qualified member of our investment committee who had every intention of continuing on was told, no, you're no longer going to be on, was denied the opportunity to apply again for renewal of her term, and then someone else was brought in. So while I don't have any concerns about Mrs. Bledsoe, that part of it and her qualifications and all of that to be on the investment advisory committee, I am a little concerned about what our procedure is and what our policy is. I do believe the treasurer has, according to statute or according to our county policy, has the ability to appoint members of that advisory committee, and then the board approves.
Right.
So what we typically do, though, with all of these boards is we put it out there, and we've been trying to be a little better about that,
Yeah.
to give people the opportunity to apply for these positions. And also, if their position is, if their term is up, to give them the opportunity to reapply, and certainly be in the mix of others who apply. I think
Sure.
that's entirely fair. But when we have a treasurer who's largely been AWOL, who hasn't been coming to the Board of Commissioners, hasn't come to the budget committees, has been incommunicative in terms of a presence and a reporting to the board, and then I find out that somebody who was eminently qualified was denied the opportunity to be on it for no reason, so that someone else could be on. And now we're seeing this again. We have an application from somebody, but we haven't had others have the opportunity to apply, although it says the treasurer can pick and choose. So while that is legitimate, is it in integrity? And I'm asking for some input on
Yeah.
this.
I'll tell you my feeling
Yeah,
about
that's a good
it,
question.
based on what you said, Commissioners. I'm very disheartened that the way this came through, explained. I just assumed she resigned also. Maybe a bad assumption on my part, But that goes, I think, does show that there's a issue with the way we did, not just for treasurer, but all positions. There's a issue with how we go through that process and how, not for staff or anything, but how we address that he tells somebody as a treasurer, and he's an elected position, that they can't apply because even though their term wasn't up. I find it very hard that the treasurer can make that determination of who he wants to pick and choose without coming through the board, because let's face our investment program and everything else, we're in charge of our investment program. We have the treasurer, but we're basically in charge. And that really, I'm really concerned about that way this came apart, the way you explained it. I'm really concerned.
I had no idea. Honestly, I had absolutely no idea. I assumed it was a resignation, and it was not.
Right. I remember that was I think my first investment committee meeting was when Chris Bledsoe, and there were two other people who also either applied or we considered. Right?
Well, we
Do
had
you remember?
Jim Schlottfeld,
Oh, it was Jim and then somebody else, right?
Diane Edwards.
Oh, and then Diane. Yeah,
Diane
of course. Yeah. Right. And that was when Mike made a recommendation that the investment committee be expanded, right? I'm trying to remember if this
because there were
Oh, because there were three.
Well,
Right.
there was an initial, Mrs. Bledsoe applied,
Oh,
and
okay.
then two other people applied, and that was Diane Edwards and Mr.
And then Jim.
Schlottfeld.
Yeah. Okay.
So then he said, well, basically, I guess I can't pick. They're all, I don't want to pick and choose
Mhm.
based on qualifications. So he asked that we expand.
Okay.
So we had three. So then Mrs. Edwards is resigning, and that brought up the whole, how does this work?
Mhm.
And then come to find out that Paulette Alexandria never resigned.
And there's one other position that's open, right? Based upon what I read in the memo.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe that's correct. I think we've been advertising on the website. There's 2 vacancies.
Okay. And we have been advertising. I forgot to look. So,
On our website.
okay. That's good. I mean, I appreciate when we had the opportunity to open it up, but I also haven't I didn't go to look at what the treasurer's duties and responsibilities are compared to ours with regard to the investment committee
And I
members.
pulled that up.
Okay, thank you.
It's in the investment policy, and in 2019, around the time that we're talking about when the additional
Mhm.
for the committee was expanded, and the language, it shall be comprised, the investment advisory committee shall be created by board order. It shall be comprised of 7 voting members, the county treasurer, who will serve as the chair, the liaison commissioner, and 5 citizens selected by the treasurer who have public investment knowledge. The citizens shall be appointed by the board of commissioners. Such appointment shall not be unreasonably withheld. Ex officio members are the 2 commissioners who do not serve as liaison to the treasurer, the county administrator, and the deputy county treasurer. The committee shall provide guidance to the investment officer on investments and review investments performance at least quarterly. So I'm just reading it for words.
Perfect. Right. So it sounds like they're the treasurer's advisors, right?
Correct.
Where a lot of the other ones are advisors essentially to us.
To the board.
Yeah.
And so I asked our county council about that shall not be unreasonably withheld.
Mhm.
And I think, so I have a better understanding of what that means.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Ken and I chatted a little about it as well. And even though it is something where it says that the treasurer selects, I think as Ken's confirmed, we have been advertising for the open positions on the board. Is that right?
I think if Carrie or Carolina know about it, usually Carrie will get those vacancies posted up on the website.
And
Yeah.
that language has been in the policy as far back as 2013. I haven't been able to lay my hands on the original document that created the investment committee board in 1994. But that language is at least 7 years.
Okay.
One of the things I think, we do a good job, we're doing a much better job of posting openings to our committee openings to our website.
Mhm.
My issue with that is probably only 10-15% of the residents of Yamhill County probably ever go to our website.
Sure.
So I'm sure that even though we post them on our website, the majority of citizens don't know it's even an opening.
Right.
And I don't know what we do to solve that unless we put them in the news register and Uber graphic.
And I think that was done. There was one opening, was it Budget Committee? Was it
There was something-
Board of Health, where there was a push
Yeah. Like
on
a real
social
open-
media and in both newspapers to advertise that, but this didn't seem to be one of those positions. Is it posted on our website
We do post the
This
vacancies
one,
on the website.
for this one, for Investment Committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
The
And-
last time I looked at that last week, I think. So for committee vacancies, there's the following positions are open to the public with instructions on how to apply. Lipsick has 2 positions open, 1 city mayor or counselor and 1 WOU.
Western Oregon University criminal justice student, which I keep wondering when they're going to show up. So
Local Investment Advisory Committee, 2 citizen positions open. Cove Orchard Sewer District, 2 citizen positions open. And Parks and Rec Advisory Board has 1 open position.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
No,
lot
I
of
think we
open
have gotten
positions.
better about it. And I think
Yes.
you're right. How many people go to the website?
there's a counter on it, which I've discovered if I go to it to pages a lot, I really bump up the count.
Boom, 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 boom.
You know, I,
1,132.
That's all Casey.
we have so
Refresh.
many, we
Refresh.
have so many now. I wouldn't mind seeing one advertisement in the paper that says Yamhill County has openings on these, for these particular positions, like the 2 on Cove Orchard
Right.
and everything
Yeah.
else. If you're interested in applying, please go to Yamhill County's
Right.
website.
So
I think that would be good too.
Yeah, so to get back to this, I certainly am grateful that Ms. St. Ors has applied and she's qualified, and I would love to see her be on the committee. But I would like to address what happened to Paulette Alexandria, because I think that when we have those things and we just move past them and sweep them under the rug, we really haven't addressed them and we don't preclude them from happening again. And I don't know where to take this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that you're right. It's good to clarify kind of who the investment committee, who they essentially advise work for. But I think that it builds trust in local government and when we do things right. So
Would the best thing to do is to change our investment policy to clarify that, it says that the treasurer, would say that all appointments have to be, we couldn't use ratified by the board.
But they already are.
But they
I think that's what it says.
At present, the treasurer essentially makes a selection that is subject to approval by the board.
Mhm. Right.
And I don't know exactly how that process works, if, applications come in, treasurer reviews the applications, or if do or beyond what the applications are that we might have received, that would be worth following up. But yeah, the recommendations essentially from the treasurer are subject to approval by the board, which approval can't be unreasonably withheld.
Right.
As I explained it, if there is a valid reason why the recommendation that came from the treasurer that individual shouldn't be appointed. If they, and I'm just putting examples out there. I'm not saying that any of the current applicants do or don't have these criteria. If there was a lack of experience, or if there was some, I don't know if there was any nepotism involved, and someone was trying to, put particular family members or friends on the committee. If there was some basis for which the majority of the board decided, yeah, that doesn't seem reasonable to us, then I think you could say no.
Right.
And that's the way the current policy works. But there would need to be a reasonable basis for saying.
Yeah.
I would just add, because I'm trying to remember the timing of things, but if I remember correctly, the investment policy is subject to an annual review by the board.
Mhm.
And I don't believe that was scheduled for this year because of, I think when the treasurer was last scheduled was kind of at the early part of
Right.
COVID-19. And a lot of things were being rescheduled or canceled. We were trying to limit on what the updates, because typically you would come and give an update, and like some of the other department heads would do updates, and then there would be a review of the investment policy on an annual basis. And unless I'm mistaken, I don't believe that's occurred this year, and then that would be an opportune time to have the conversation with the treasurer.
Yeah.
The problem is that our treasurer has been AWOL. He hasn't been coming before the board. He's been incommunicado. He hasn't been coming to present at a budget committee. We haven't had that. We've had face-to-face for the advisory committee, but not as a board. And so I think when we go back to the last situation, that was one of those situations where we didn't have all the information.
Yeah.
We weren't told what went on. And again, back to Commissioner Olson's, the transparency, it's not okay if an elected official does it. And for us to say that, well, he's an elected official, he gets to do that, I don't think that's fair.
I don't either.
We can't at this point go back and remedy that, but we can darn well make sure it doesn't happen again.
And I think that's what we have to do is, if this is, I wouldn't want to not approve this one. I don't have any problem, but I want to make sure that when the next one, because we're advertising for 2, that the other one that's hired doesn't go through this. Saying, we don't know, there may be perfectly good applicants that have turned in applications or Mike wants on there. Well, we don't know, because there's really he makes the decision and then we ratify it. So we don't know of all the people that may have applied to him or talked to him about it, that we never even see. I mean, we don't know if he's gotten 5 applications, if he's gotten 3, and he takes one, says, this is the person I want, and throws the other 2 out. We don't know. I have to hopefully give him more credit than that, but we don't know.
And he gets to do that. That's
I was gonna
within
say,
his
yeah, he
purview.
gets to do that.
However, the board was informed last time that a current member of the advisory committee was no longer interested in being a member of the advisory committee, and that was not true.
Oh, okay.
And that's my concern.
Yeah.
Is that we get all the information.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it there,
Yeah, that
but
makes sense.
I am appreciative that that this applicant is willing to serve, but I'm really concerned about what went on in the past.
Well, it sounds like it would be it'll be good to ask the treasurer, but I think it would be good to have the remaining open position be advertised with other openings on advisory committees.
Well, I guess my feeling is that we let this one go through, and the current treasurer's only got, whoever the next treasurer is, the current treasurer has got basically got 6 months.
Mhm.
So I think with the new treasurer coming in, whoever that happens to get elected to that position, that, number one, I think whoever it is will be much more active with the commission. But I think that we ensure that the new treasurer coming in knows what our expectations are, because we could change this right now, but Mike, since he's an absentee treasurer, we never see him, so I'm not so sure that it's worth making a change out unless I think if we get another application, or another recommendation for that other spot, that we ask, okay, we can ask Mike, who all applied and what did you make your determination on?
And who resigned and who was asked to
That's right.
resign.
So
Yeah, I think
Right.
you're right.
but with a new treasurer coming in, I think these are the issues we really need to have addressed with the new treasurer.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up.
Well, I would move approval, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
of consideration to accept the resignation of Diane Edwards, who, by the way, has been a wonderful member. They
It
are.
made me think, like, wait, is she? What's the
She's-
circumstances?
No,
But
she's.
I
she's-
want to give her
she's-
credit.
She actually is real. She really did resign.
Okay.
She is.
Got it.
She's moving.
Okay.
So she did resign.
That
So
is
that's
real.
legit.
Okay.
And to appoint Katerina, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her last, St. Oris. So I apologies if I didn't get that correct, to the investment committee for a 2-year term through January 24th, 2022.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Let the record show unanimous approval of item F6. Item F7 is consideration of approval of a proposed $1 per ton consumer price index increase by Waste Management for Riverbend landfill tipping fees effective July 1st of 2020.
I just have a couple questions on that. Maybe Kenny can answer the questions. The CPI they used, is that the Northwest CPI now? What CPI is that?
It's not
based on?
Portland anymore.
No,
No,
it's
that's,
not.
it's not.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could remember.
Seattle? Is it the
I think
it's
it's
a
the Seattle
Seattle?
CPI for all urban consumers of West.
There you go. The West Coast one. Yeah.
That's,
So it is.
that's in the letter from.
Waste management.
Perfect.
And then I think the memo from.
You know what's funny? I was reading this, and those Bite Defender restarts that happened right in the middle of it.
It keeps, I keep getting
Yeah.
those.
In our landfill, agreement with Waste Management, there is an annual CPI adjustment called for in the.
Right.
If they ask for a increase in addition to CPI,
Mhm.
then additional documentation
Yeah.
and materials need to be brought to the board to justify that increase. And it appears that all they're asking for this time is the CPI increase. And the CPI fees are to be adjusted in an amount equal to 0.85 times the percentage change in the CPI.
Goes from 30, then the price change goes from 39.80 per ton to 40.80 per ton.
And based on the tipping fees, what the amount, the money the county gets from the tipping fees, does it go up that same 0.85% or what impact does that have on the money the county receives from that increased tipping fee?
Good
I
question.
don't believe it does. I believe we're at 240,000 per year right now.
We'd have to look and see if
Which is
there's
their
an
base.
increase in the license fees we received tied to the tipping fee. I don't have that information in front of me, but I can certainly look at the agreement.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to
I
this
didn't
at
know
all,
that.
but I'd like to know what impact
Mhm.
it has on us, whether it has none, whether it has any, or.
So, Mr. Chair, you
Yeah.
think it's just basically there's a base and then this is just tied to their profit? and-
Right. Yeah. I think that is my memory of both our budget and the conversations with Ken
Okay.
Friday. I believe it's that we receive fees based upon the number of yards or the number of tons. I think it's the number of yards, but one of those units of measure. And then when it goes, if their receipt of garbage goes below a certain level, then they're capped at that level. They have to at least pay us $240,000 a year.
That's the minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so then if they end up hauling in more garbage that puts over that, then they might increase what they send to us, remit to us just a little bit.
So really our fees are based on tonnage or what's dumped and not based on.
Not on the price that they're charging. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. If that's the case, I don't have any.
And I believe this is the only thing that's increasing across the solid waste world right now in the county.
If you want, I think we do have time. This is effective July 1, if you want to send it over to next week.
No, I think if what Commissioner Kula says in ours is a minimum and it's based on the 240,000 flat and it's based on tonnage and it's not based on tipping fees, then I don't have any issue with it.
I believe that is correct. I'm trying to pull up the agreement here. I don't know that I have it electronically available. But I believe that is right, that it is based on overall annual tonnage, because I know that the fees we were receiving went down when Riverbend started diverting waste to other landfills.
Yeah.
And that there is
Because
a
it fell
floor-
below.
There is a floor below which our fees don't go. There is a minimum.
And I thought I should
That's
check
the-
my email. I just checked my email just in case somebody, like Ken Friday is
Yeah, right.
frantically sending us emails.
Well, Commissioner.
But no, that's,
And I
Didn't
will-
you, didn't you just say, Commissioner, that you thought 240 was the base and it goes below that, they pay at least?
they pay at least 240.
That's not, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a floor. So even if their overall tonnage drops below, we still receive a minimum.
Not saying 240
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I think it's something like 10,000 ton, like there's a number that's in my head of 10,000 yards or 10,000 tons. And we've consistently been in the 6,000.
And all I was gonna say is I was gonna follow up with what Christian was saying, that we still have time before the effective date on this. So if there's questions and or the board would like more information, I can reach out to Ken and Ashley and make sure that they'd be available if you want to send this over to another meeting, have both of them be available to answer these
Right.
questions. I just wanted to echo that,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be nice. I guess it would be nice from a reporting standpoint to know, and number one, if it is the baseline like we think it is, but also the last 3 to 4 years, and I don't know if it's worth looking up, what our baseline has been, which has been the same, but what their tonnage, what they're giving our solid waste is what the tonnage reported is, to see how far below that 240 they're doing.
Yeah. And I apologize. Ken Friday and I regularly he sends me the tipping, kind of like how much tonnage is going through there, through Riverbend, but we haven't connected to look at them again. But I know that he has that, historic, he has a spreadsheet with the numbers.
Because I'm remembering during the budget process in years past where $1 million figure, was that what the county was recouping as tipping fees? And then that went down significantly. I don't know why I remember that $1 million number.
I would have to look, I'm hesitant, I don't have the data, I can, if
Well-
you're interested in that history, I can do that.
Yeah, because if it was 200, let's say 240,000 base, but they've been tipping much more than that base to where it got up to that $1 million. That number sounds familiar to me too.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
But that would be nice to know what what our fee is, even though the 240 base, what our fee has been. What we've been bringing in and how it's, because it should look with the tonnage, it should go up. And now the dumping less diverting, it
Right.
should be going down.
Right.
Yeah, if you'd like to sit over, I'm sure we could have all that information from Ken and Ashley ready for the board by next week.
I'd like to look at it.
Oh, I'm interested in it, but I don't know that it changes.
I'm not sure if it, so, yeah,
This-
totally. It's,
Yeah, I mean, that's to say, I have no problem with this, but I
Both.
like the information.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I would too. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. And I didn't get any emails from anybody in solid waste.
I didn't either.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If we're ready. I will make the motion. We approve the proposed $1 ton CPI increase by Waste Management for Riverbend landfill tipping fees effective July 1, 2020.
All right. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The record show unanimous approval of item F7. Item G is public hearings, and we have none. And item H is announcements and commissioners.
Commissioners, you start, Mary.
Okay, well, some good news. As you all know, maybe this is just, we have to put this back on the radar, is that the county made a significant contribution for the relief nursery in the West Valley. And there have been some infrastructure issues which made getting this project up and running, there were just a lot of roadblocks. But I want to thank Jordan and Chief Hurdle out the West Valley, and also Superintendent Carrie Zimbrick and Willamina City Manager Kenna West, because I've seen that with a collaboration, and we were able to this week kind of put all the pieces in place so that we can get this relief nursery going. There are significant water issues. So the fire chief had issues, the superintendent had issues, the city manager had issues with this. And we, of course, have a building, a modular ready to go.
Yeah.
We have a program ready to go. And we know we're going to have significant need out there based on what we're going to see as a result of the COVID lockdown with child abuse and substance abuse and all that. So we really need this up and running. So we did some work, and Jordan and everybody came together, and this week we got the okay from the planning department. So the city, the county, we're ready to go, and hopefully by the fall we'll have a relief nursery
Great.
on the campus in Willamina.
Great.
So that's super
And
good
I knew
news.
that they were working on the water lines, but I didn't know that the water to that building was a particular challenge.
It's still a challenge,
Yeah.
but we're, everyone's
Figuring
trying
it
to
out.
figure it out.
good.
The other information I thought was interesting on the Board of Health in our meeting yesterday, I wanted to know just the enforcement part of some of the COVID regulations. So I asked our Health and Human Services Director, where are the complaints coming from and what are they related to the COVID situation? So the complaints, a lot of the complaints are coming from the public. And they are, for instance, complaining about establishments where the bar stools are still at the bar. Here's one. Overcrowding. People aren't wearing masks. Improper use of a mask. Someone's mask was down. No cleaning guidance. And so that's up to HHS or public health to address those, but they are coming from the public. And the state is asking as a response for the county to keep a log, and then a letter would be sent. And then after that would be the hammer comes down, fees and various things like that. But that's the progression of enforcement. And our environmental health department is the one that's tasked with, the one that does Gary, that does the restaurant inspections,
Yeah.
is going to be addressing those. So
Okay.
that's an update there.
Oh, interesting. And was that
And-
specific to restaurants and bars? Is that
I said, well, where are the complaints coming from on
Sure.
establishments? And it seems to be people are saying, oh, you left your bar stools up and
oh, okay.
you're not wearing a
And I
mask.
think that's
Okay,
just because
great,
they're
thanks.
getting out more. We've opened in phase one.
Right.
There's more people getting out that are aware of the guidelines and realize that they're not missing, but I don't know of any excuse of somebody, that is intentionally leaving bar stools at the bar. That's definitely a no-no, and I think any good establishment would know that.
But I'm sorry I interrupted you. I just wanted to
No,
clarify. Yeah.
I just thought I wanted to know where
Yeah.
were the complaints coming from? And they're coming from people in the public complaining about establishments or owners of establishments.
Okay.
So that's just it.
I was on. Did you join the ERT last Thursday?
No, because last Thursday I did.
Do you remember that the I don't remember what he normally does, but there's a man in the governor's office that's charged with working on enforcement issues with the different state agencies.
Okay.
And I didn't know, people ask me, well, who do I talk to about this or that? And he clarified that right now, Oregon OSHA is actually acting as the triage. So complaints go to them through their typical, there's like a COVID complaint form that you fill out. And then they actually, essentially look at them and decide what state agency it goes to, or whether it goes to a county public health department. And it was good because I didn't know where to send people. I was like, I know that it's education first, but what does that look like? So, OLCC gets
Right.
some of them, and ODA gets
Yeah,
some
the
of them.
state really doles them out who gets what. depending on what they're feeling.
But then it sounds like public health is addressing or receiving lots of them as well.
Correct.
And then forwarding them on to the state.
Well, they're keeping a log, and I don't want to mischaracterize it that there are a lot of them. I wanted to know
Yeah.
what they were.
What they were, yeah.
And so the county is supposed to be keeping a log,
Okay.
and then sort of a quote unquote 3 strikes you're out, and then the enforcement part comes in.
Okay.
So that's how it works.
Okay.
Great.
Well, it's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just a couple of things. Yesterday, we had our SEDCOR board meeting. Had about 20 people on board, a lot of private manufacturers. Some of the commissioners from Marion County and Polk County, myself, that are on the board. And the state economist on the board, and Jody was there, of course, and talked about everything that was going on. And believe it or not, right now, SEDCOR is working on 5 large projects where people want like 80,000, 200,000 square foot
Whoa.
buildings in the northern Willamette Valley. And so she's going back and reviewing all of the available building lands and how many are shovel ready. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit out at our industrial park. It's all shovel ready to go, ready to build on it. So she's been coordinating that. There's been a lot of, I don't want to say despair, but especially I think from Marion County, that, they're a large SEDCOR, of course, but Marion County was a little bit perturbed of how much work last year that SEDCOR put into Yamhill County. And it's made a big difference. I think they have 26 member businesses in Yamhill County now, or 28 member businesses in Yamhill County. Cardaway out of the industrial park, ADEC, St. Crusair, have all joined SEDCOR. And so SEDCOR is doing real good. I think they're doing a great job for Yamhill County. I think problem with Marion County may be looking at changing them. They have their own economic development people too, of maybe not having economic development people and funding SEDCOR more and having SEDCOR do the thing. Because I think there's a lot of feeling, I know Craig Pope and Commissioner Pope, that SEDCOR is much more powerful like anything else when it's a regional effort. And I think they're trying to build more than they would be the regional. I mean, their regional would be the regional economic. Both Eric at SEDCOR and Abishot talked very highly about Yamhill County's grant. That was one of their highlights, Yamhill County's grant program, and how we did the grant, how we divided it by population, zip code, to make sure everybody in the county had an opportunity. They thought it was the way it was done was very well, and so Polk County may be looking at going to that type of thing, but Polk County doesn't want to put any money into it, so oh well. But anyway, so that's all I have. SEDCOR meeting and the today we have the MWAC meeting and the ERT. I mean, I try to sit in a lot of the ERT meetings, but unfortunately there's a time where there's an MWAC meeting and federal. There's Surface Transit. Fazio, Representative Fazio is introduced his his infrastructure bill, which is $500 billion, I think, and I can't remember what percent is allocated to non-metropolitan road projects. So if it gets through, maybe we can get some more money to finish the bypass.
Wow.
Be nice.
So I don't know, but a good one.
Yeah, I consistently, when I'm hearing from SEDCOR and actually from Willamette Workforce Partnership too, both of them, when they have programs, it seems like the majority, I want to say, of businesses are often from Yamhill County.
They are.
Even though it's a regional, two different regional organizations. So they're definitely reaching out and making connections.
Yeah, and they even
which is nice to see.
It came through.
Because if there's, help them.
It was recommended by SEDCOR, but it was actually administered by Willamette Workforce Partnership. Even ADEC got quite a large grant to retool
and retrain.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to make it, but if the relationship between SEDCOR and Willamette Workforce Partnership wasn't there, that may have never happened.
Right.
Good
Yeah.
point.
That's a good
So
point.
that's all I have.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Next Thursday, Jody Christensen is doing, she's hosting an ag related webinar. It's going to be from 8 to 10, so I'll probably be sitting on the bench out there.
You're always sitting on the bench
No,
out
that's
there.
with my headphones on. So, and that's specifically to help connect both farm bureaus and farm worker organizations with how to connect them with the $30 million that the e-board allocated for personal protective equipment and helping with farm worker housing and helping farmers with getting essentially retooled to have their employees work in distancing and with masks and shields. So that'll be Thursday morning from 8 to 10.
I'm glad you brought that up because on the call, was it 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, Representative Post brought up the concern that farmers were having about being able to comply with this. And they were wanting to put some of their workers in hotels to keep them safe, but then there would be a consideration there that you can't do for one, that you're not doing for the other. And then a lot of them were forced with saying, I can't afford to even do my farm work because I can't comply with these.
Right.
What was the fix for that?
Yeah, so part of the, it sounds like the 30 million was really the governor's attempt to address those real legitimate concerns around expecting farmers to comply with a sudden set of rules from OSHA. In Marion County, Commissioner Cameron has been meeting with different groups to try to figure out how the county can help them financially and how to just communicate. But the statewide funding was really intended to help with that. And now, Jody's work is, okay, how do we connect farmers and their representatives with the money that's available?
But even if they're given a blank check or the farmers are given a check and said, here, this is going to cover your costs, but if they're not allowed to use that money to mitigate, how do you do
I think
that?
ideally they're hoping that it goes to improving farm worker housing itself so that there's not that gap between what two different workers are getting.
But we need that. These farmers need that right now as far as having their,
I don't know. I do know that Representative Post's comments were on the, they were couched in speculative terms. And so I don't know whether that was something that has been clarified or not.
let me just see, because he sent me an email. I had asked him a question about that.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard, and he said, sorry it's taking me so long. No new information that a letter from legislators bipartisan bicameral went out yesterday
Okay, good.
urging the governor to scale back the rules and to make sure the funding gets right to the farmers.
Mhm.
We'll see that if that does any good. So, okay, that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
update. Okay.
And I don't know, at this point, I don't know, but that's why I'm going to the ag webinar,
Okay.
is I don't know what the mechanism is to get the money directly to farmers.
Okay. All righty.
But I know that at this point, it's spring, and it has to be as simple as possible
Mhm.
and as quick as possible, because otherwise people are not going to access it. I mean, I'm just speaking from experience. It has to be simple, and there has to be very little regulatory hooks with it in order for them to really use it.
Yeah.
Commissioner?
I just had a question along that lines. If are you done with your comments?
Yeah.
For staff, have we officially got with the counties, the county officially got the appeal for the non-farm use on the out between Amity and Bellevue, the guy that wants to take that made us the bread. I guess
I think
that
it's this
that was being appealed. At
this
least
one.
that's what
Is that what was in our,
This, actually, I have Commissioner Olson's, but yeah, that's the file, the folder here.
mine.
I know.
Okay.
I would say that Carolina gave it to me, but that's passing the buck.
What it is there,
let's blame Carolina. That's cool.
Friends of Yamhill County,
Carolina, would you stop doing
Friend. Casey, Friends of Yamhill County and the thousands
that? It's the hair.
Friends of
It's making me-
Oregon
Yeah.
are fighting that.
So I-
Saying that
Oh.
since they're baking bread out there, that's not a
I've
permit.
seen the appeal. I'm not sure exactly when it's scheduled to come through.
Okay, yeah, that's not a,
It's a hearing date of
Is it
June
commercial
11th.
use?
I think it's next Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, baking's a commercial use and not a.
Well, we'll have that discussion next.
Yeah,
In the interest of not opening the hearing. before-
Yeah.
So I just
Exactly.
asked the question. If it came to us. I
Yeah.
got the answer I needed.
Yes.
Okay, that
Yes,
sounds good.
The hearing is scheduled for next week.
Good to know.
And
Thank you, staff.
I just have two other comments, and one is that I really have appreciated seeing the leadership from Mac PD and Newburgh PD and our sheriff's office around the both George Floyd's death and also the protests. I think they've done a really great job of addressing them from our county specific perspective. So
Right.
just want to thank them publicly for that.
Yes, I have to say, and I said this on the call, I
Mhm.
think that our law enforcement in our community, I think we're blessed. And we've seen, we've got some really great people on the forces.
And when we've had problems, they've also been addressed.
And
And
they
that's
have
one thing
been.
that I try to explain to people is give specific examples. Careful.
Yes, they have been, you're right.
And then the other thing is just that I want to say that while we had I want to acknowledge that there was a union rally out in front of the Capitol or courthouse. That's where
Oh,
we
we're the
are.
capital now. Gee, we can go out there for this thing.
And there were words that tore down our county administrator, and I just want to acknowledge that I have a lot of respect and gratitude for our county administrator. So
And I will echo
I mean,
that.
you guys
Yes.
too, but I just wanted to make sure that it was known.
No, I appreciate you saying that. I didn't hear them. I know we had to run the gauntlet getting over here, but I can't say enough about Ken Huffer and the work he's done for this community in this county. And I'm really grateful he's here for such a time as this.
Yeah, I keep wanting, I'm waiting to come in one day and he isn't here. He works so long. But, I think those kind of rallies are fine. I don't have any problem with, but when they get personal and start making nasty personal comments about a person, that to me is taking it too far. Like the chant for Ken, that's taking it too far. I know Ken takes all in stride.
But I would like to note too that item F4 and F5 are things that you with our blessing did initiate to increase the fairness and the safety of our county offices and for our county employees. So I just thought that I think it's a good thing to note that two of our agenda items are things that you, if I recall, took initiative on.
Correct.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
And the only part of it, fortunately, is that's not what this is about. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Christian, do you have anything?
The only thing I would say is discussion about emergency declarations today, just a reminder that
Yeah.
our emergency declaration schedule will run through the end of June.
Yes.
So if the board is interested in extending that, that'll be something you would consider.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for the heads up.
Yeah.
Ken, do you have anything to add? Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot. Okay. That's good. Carolina? All right. With that, I will adjourn this meeting of the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Chair.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that about Ken.